Hello, and welcome to another episode of Taylor Talks Comics. Today, we're going to go over The Dark Knight by Frank Miller and Klaus Janson and Lynn Varley, the Absolute Edition. Okay, so this is a proper timing because this is coming back into print and it'll be on sale. This volume, this copy, this format will be on sale next February. So this has been an Absolute that's been printed a few times, but it is coming back into print, which people have been looking forward to. So I wanted to get this out there so people can check out why this format and this version of The Dark Knight Returns might be the best version. So it's Absolute Dark Knight. Like I said, it's Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, and Lynn Varley on the spine there. On the back here, you have the new Robin, who is the Robin of the future that you'll get to know and learn in this volume. The top is blank, the bottom, it's got the UPC. And then the spine on this side, the spine of the book itself is, this says Absolute Dark Knight. Nothing else in real big letters. Take it out of the slipcase. Slipcase is just white on the inside. And these Absolute versions, if you're not familiar, are usually in slipcases, and they're usually this format, this big. And if you want to see the trim size, this is your standard size comic book here, this Epic collection. So you can see it's wider than it and taller than it. Also, the same thing for omnibuses. Here's a Marvel Omnibus. You can see that it's still wider than it and taller than it. So it's the premier format for DC Comics. But yeah, so this dust jacket here. Not all the Absolutes come with dust jackets, but some of them do. It seems like the older ones typically do. The flaps are completely blank. But the cover image there is the colored image of what you saw in the slipcase. It's red and you can see the skin color and stuff. On the back, same thing for Robin there. You can see those Lynn Varley colors. All right, and then the hardcover itself, I'm gonna try to do this carefully, has a wraparound cover of that famous image of The Dark Knight Returns, where Batman's jumping in front of the lightning bolt. This book was designed by Chip Kidd, I believe. Let me see if I can find out. Design director Steve Cook. Oh yeah, publication design and dust jacket color by Chip Kidd. So Chip Kidd, that's one of the things that he likes to do, which I love, is to blow up the image of one of the panels or a cover or something like that and show that off. Same thing you get here on the end papers. You get this blown up image of Batman with Robin. And the back end papers are them together, but in a different image, where it says good soldier, good soldier. So this is really going to be a review of, or an overview of the book itself. The story I'll dive into a little bit, but I think we'll do a separate video diving deeper into the story, because this also includes, let's see if I can find it real fast. Is there table of contents? Nope. It's Dark Knight Strikes Again, though. That's what it also includes. Here's some more blown up panels. You get the Joker there and Robin. And here you go, Absolute Dark Knight's kind of cut off here. Another staple of Chip Kidd production and design. And I love when he blows these up because you can even see like the dots, the printing dots and stuff. Really gives it a cool look and feel. You got Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, Lynn Varley, letter by John Costanza and Todd Klein, which I think it's Costanza is on Dark Knight, and I think Klein is on, or Dark Knight Returns, and the Dark Knight Strikes Again, I think is letter by Todd Klein. Well, credits here with another image of Carrie Kelly. You get an introduction by Frank Miller that was written in 2006. And it includes him talking about Dark Knight Strikes Again, and how it was influenced by the Twin Towers being toppled in 2001. So that's right about the time that it came out. And I love this too. So this was included in the, I think it's the inside cover of the original printing of issue 1. Is this article by Jimmy Olsen, where he's writing kind of an opinion piece from his point of view of things that are happening with the heroes of comic books, which is kind of like a meta commentary on how Frank Miller saw comic book heroes being taken by the audience when this was coming out in 1986. And then here's book 1. Here's the cover for this comic is right here. The original covers are included in the back. And then it starts off with a story. With just incredible colors and artwork by Frank Miller. This is a truly transformative comic in its storytelling and artwork. Frank Miller's really took his artwork from his days on Daredevil and really expanded upon that with Ronin was his first project with DC. That was kind of like the deal with DC was like, let me do my own story, my own book that I'll own the rights to called Ronin, and then I'll do a Batman comic for you. And after this, he did Batman Year One with David Mazzucchelli, which that Absolute Edition deserves a video as well, which maybe I'll do that in a future video. And then here's book 2, The Dark Knight Triumphant, and it starts off there. So you can see the actual original covers are not included in the book itself, but there are chapter breaks, so you can still read it as it was originally collected, or originally released, I guess, on the stands. Because these were given a premiere format in the direct market. This is like one of the first major direct market comics that really probably couldn't have happened before comic book shops became a thing and the direct market really started growing. There's a lot of historians that talk about that as well. How if this was just a newsstand book, like Batman Year One would have lived fine on the newsstands, and it did because it was released in the original format of just the run of Batman. And this was a special 4-issue series that was not that way. So this is, I guess, a quick synopsis of the story, though. This is years after Batman retires, and he hangs up the cowl, and he's done. Crime is down, and then all of a sudden, crime starts going back up in Gotham. There's this mutant gang that starts causing trouble, and then he puts the cowl back on and goes and fights crime. And also, there's the Joker comes back, and he's kind of being accepted by the public as being like reformed, if you will, but it's really kind of irritates Batman too, because it's like, how can you be reformed when he's killed so many people? Here's there's also a ribbon in this, which most Absolute editions have this. Not all, though. I think on subsequent printings they don't, because my version of Absolute Watchmen does not have a ribbon, which is kind of weird. And then it starts right into, so that's the last page of The Dark Knight Returns, and it starts right into Dark Knight Strikes Again. So all of the back matter for this entire book is behind this one. And this starts off with a column by Vicky Vale to mirror that. So this was being serialized and came out, I think 16 years. I think 2002 is when it first started coming out. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Dark Knight came out in 1986 and then started coming out after 9/11. I know that for sure, because Frank Miller is very open about how much that influenced it. And this has been largely talked about for being lesser than, I guess, as a story goes, than The Dark Knight. But I feel like it's very misunderstood. I think the goal that Frank Miller had in mind with this story is largely misunderstood by the public. And that goes from everything from the artwork, which you can see looks a little bit more garish, a little less finished, less polished, if you will. But I think that was intentional. And I think, I'll tell you why, but I want to do a future video on just this series as well, because I do think it is misunderstood. So I want to kind of spotlight that and talk about how I feel like it deserves another reading by people with a different lens. But yeah, so Dark Knight Strikes Again was another 4-issue series. And going through here. So you get 8 issues total, but they're all larger than just your typical 21-page comic book. That looks very anime inspired, that image. Which, that's one thing I want to talk about. It's like the inspiration in the artwork and storytelling from Frank Miller. Keep going here. All right, and then you get the back matter. So this is the Dark Knight proposal. This is from 1984 when Frank Miller actually wrote the proposal. And here's a little commentary from Frank Miller after the fact. And here's the proposal, which is really fascinating. I love reading these. This is like the pitch that he gave to DC Comics saying, this is the Batman story I want to tell. So it's interesting to read this and then read the comic and see how it compares. See what was different. See how things changed from the original pitch to the final product. And then here's the covers, which I wish they put these in on their own pages because they are such incredible and historic covers that they think they deserve their own pages. I don't like that they did this gallery here, but that's what they did. This is issue 1, issue 2, 3, and 4. These are very famous issues. Like, those have been homaged a bunch as far as other comics go. Here is the cover for The Dark Knight Returns trade paperback. Colors by Len Varley. It's got a very, I don't know when this came out. This is Warner Books collection, but I would like to know because I wish I had a date on it. Because it looks very much like the animated series from the early 90s, like the Bruce Timm style, like the painted style. But I don't know if that was influenced by Bruce Timm or if that was before that. And here's covers to The Dark Knight Strikes Again. So there's cover 1, 2, and 3. I guess it was just 3 issues? Okay, so it must have been 3 issues. And then 10th anniversary edition of Dark Knight Returns was this cover. And then Chip Kidd did these, which again is that very much blown in or blown up panel art style with some of the characters there. He designed both of these. I used to have, that's the first way I read The Dark Knight Returns, was in that. I think both of these actually I had in trade paperback. Here's a statue that was designed based on this image here by Frank Miller. It's really cool. And then here's another statue. The dynamic duo, the new dynamic duo. Here's some action figures that were created with this art style, which is really cool. I'd love to have some of these. Like that's Superman. I love Frank Miller's Superman. Then here's the Dark Knight Falls story from 1985. Okay, so this must be the next, another proposal, I guess, maybe a pitch summary, if you will. And here's more sketches, him trying to work out the details of what it's going to look like. That one looks kind of like Batman Beyond a little bit. I mean, he has a cape, but here's a great image. Unused first page. This was going to be the first page of Dark Knight Returns. It's got a very Will Eisner kind of inspired look there, which Will Eisner is definitely an inspiration for Frank Miller. Here's some thumbnails and other pencil pages, which are really cool to look at, to see Frank Miller's design. And then here's the inks. Some ink pages. So you really get a full, complete package of the making of this extraordinary comic. This one's really cool. So this is Dark Knight Strikes Again sketchbook. And Frank Miller writes in here that he basically, when he's doing his roughs, draws like the naked figure. Doesn't draw any clothes. And then later he goes back on with clothes in the inking stage, which is really interesting. Here's some more images. This sketchbook stuff. It's always fun to look at this. I don't want to pause on too many pages, but this is the one I want to focus in on. So this is the acknowledgements page. And I feel like this is kind of like Frank Miller saying, these are who inspired me to do these books. Dark Knight Returns, he writes, Bill Finger Dave Fleischer, Max Fleischer, Jerry Robinson, Joe Shuster, Jerry Siegel, and Dick Sprang. So of that, you have like Bill Finger and Dick Sprang and Jerry Robinson are the classic Batman artists and writers from back in the day. And you have Siegel and Shuster, who created Superman, obviously, and then the Fleischers are in there. So that all makes sense. I think Will Eisner could have been in there, maybe. But then Dark Knight Strikes Again is a totally different list. We have Kyle Baker, who's an amazing cartoonist that does all kinds of different stuff. James Kochalka is in there, which I think his inspiration, I feel like, plays into like the garish kind of sloppier line work, I guess. Not sloppier, but less polished line work of Dark Knight Strikes Again. I can see some James Kochalka in there. Tony Millionaire, Alex Sinclair, Jeff Smith from Bone, Paul Pope, definitely, and Bill Sienkiewicz. So I think you take all those cartoonists, and you put them into a pot. I think it kind of makes sense to why Dark Knight Strikes Again came out that way. And then you get some more blown up images. So that's Dark Knight, Absolute Dark Knight. Like I said, this is coming back into print next year. I think this is definitely the best format to own this story in. And it really is a historic story. Even if you're not a Dark Knight Strikes Again fan, you kind of get that for free. This is definitely worth just the Dark Knight in this big, large format alone. So thank you for watching. Comment down below with your thoughts on Dark Knight Strikes Again, and if you would like to see me do that video where I kind of talk about it, maybe my pitch to why it should be celebrated and not lambasted, if you will. And subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with all your friends, and then let me know if you're going to buy this. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and keep buying comics. Keep reading comics.